And for more on this, we're going now to independent journalist and author Max Blumenthal. Max, good to have you here. So first, can we talk about the political impact of this move of the embassy, what that makes on the world stage and what it means for the Palestinians? Because as we just saw, Turkey has recalled its ambassadors out of Israel, and they want to have a consultation with the ones here in the U.S. as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is a decision bought and paid for by the pro-Israel lobby and the Likudnik billionaires who have been backing Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu, and it reflects shared right-wing values that really don't actually amount to an actual strategy for the region. So what the U.S. has done with this move is, number one, they've consolidated the Israeli colonization of Jerusalem, taken off the table Palestinian sovereignty, Palestinian statehood, and rendered perpetual the kind of oppression that 300,000 Palestinian Jerusalemites have faced. Number two, what the U.S. has done is, besides blowing up the two-state solution, which was always a fantasy, it's revealed that it's not really playing the same role that it used to play on the world stage. Even the Palestinian Authority no longer recognizes the U.S. as a broker and refuses to speak to the U.S. ambassador. And with Erdogan's statements, we see that the U.S. is actually being overtaken by a series of mid-level powers, not just in Israel-Palestine, but in North and South Korea, where the U.S. is kind of a bystander to historic peace negotiations there, and in Syria, where the U.S. is a bystander to the real peace process being carried out by Turkey, Iran, and Russia. So we're witnessing the decline of the U.S. empire through this decision.
And the violence today, there's obviously a huge disparity between the Palestinian protesters and the disproportionate response that we've seen from the Israeli forces who are firing live rounds at these crowds. How are the Israelis justifying this type of violence?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, they're able to justify it with headlines from CNN that simply say that Palestinians died, as if, oh, they just up and died. Maybe they were sick. They were massacred. Over 50 were massacred. Now, we have to look at this in a historical context. The Gaza Strip, over 80% of people there are refugees who have legitimate claims to land and property inside Israel. They're trying to return, and they are confined in what is an open-air prison or a human warehouse in order to maintain a Jewish state. In 1948, Ben-Gurion issued an open-fire policy in Gaza who attempted to return to what is now Israel. Hundreds were shot in the 50s. Returned to their homes in the West Bank. On May 15th, 2011, hundreds more were shot coming back from Lebanon and Syria, and we see the continuation of the ongoing dispossession and ethnic cleansing of Palestinians, the Nakba, today on what is about to be Nakba Day. Israel has justified this by simply blaming Hamas, as if Hamas launched 50 people into unsuspecting Israeli bullets on their way to a birthright Israel trip. But we know what actually happened there, and we have to call it what it is, a massacre and a war crime that's a continuation of Israel's long-standing policy endorsed by president after president in the U.S.
And now, on the world stage, the U.S. is solely alone, really, in moving its embassy to Jerusalem. Most world leaders are choosing to keep theirs in Tel Aviv. What does this say about America's move?
You know, I think that Trump and Nikki Haley, who's the UN ambassador, are doing this largely for domestic consumption and don't really care about how this is seen on the world stage. Nikki Haley's attempted to intimidate and threaten other countries that won't go along with it and that condemn the U.S., and they're not listening. Nikki Haley might be preparing for her own presidential run, which will be substantially funded by the same Likudnik billionaires, Paul Singer, Bernard Marcus, and Sheldon Adelson, that funded Trump and that have funded Benjamin Netanyahu's political empire. So a domestic political lobby with ties to Netanyahu is dictating American policy, and the U.S. is becoming a bystander to what is taking shape in Israel-Palestine. What we're looking at on the ground, and we have to be very clear about this, is a one-state reality, and it is a single, unitary, apartheid state where the majority of people between the river and the sea are Palestinians and not Israeli Jews.
All right, as always, thank you for sharing your insight and expertise on the subject. I know you were out there for many months doing your research out there. Thank you so much, Max Blumenthal.
Thanks for having me.